This is Reality with Partiality. Together with my guest, Miss Ifasina Efunyemi. Whereas you can't control the environment because God and others have a say-so, you and I are able to take 100% control over our lives, our body, energy system, thought, and emotion, making every area and facet pleasant and sweet all the way around. In making our bodies pleasant, we enjoy good health and are pleasure filled. In making our energies pleasant, we become blissful and sometimes ecstatic. With our minds pleasant, we're peaceful and joyful. And when we make our emotions pleasant, that's when we are loving and compassionate. I said that to say that people who favor this line about my destiny and use it as a punchline, use it as a way of justifying their failures to take 100% control over their own lives, as opposed to what people may think. Some people, that it is either fate, God, or luck. It is really effort that determines a person's success, whether consciously or unconsciously. He, she is the one realizing his or her own destiny. Take one by one fate, for example. If fate is determining your success, you can't do anything about that, can you? If it is luck determining your success, can you do anything about that? If it's God determining your success, can you do anything about it? No. Therefore, that only leaves effort. The only thing that you can do something about all the way around 100% of the time. So be all in. Cut out the rubbish. And I know many women, men also, who prefer to be married to God because God doesn't talk back. So let's keep it real by taking 100% control over our lives, our body, energy system, thought, and emotion, because that is how we can control ourselves. Like a vehicle governed by our spirit instead of our body and mind, by our spirit, not God's spirit. I say so because only you can live inside of you. If you say otherwise, then you're either schizophrenic or demon possessed. For you are an individual and as such indivisible. Therefore, govern your life through your spirit. Have your body and energy system as your two back wheels. And they are stable, already wanting to go in life's direction. But then your front wheels, your thought and emotion, they are often contrary and need alignment. For in every time you and I get bitter, angry, envious, and the like, what we are doing, we are one, creating poison, intending for others perhaps, but we are drinking it ourselves. It is foolhardy. And two, we are telling our system, as opposed to what our body and energy system is saying that they want to live, when our thought and emotion are contrary, what we are telling our system is that we don't want to live by creating poisons and drinking it ourselves. Therefore, what we should do is live with full intensity, as if today were going to be our last day. Be out here fabricating memorable experiences. Every time we breathe in, we are breathing in and adding to our lives. And every time we exhale, we're one step closer to the grave. Today, we are so fortunate to have in our studio Miss Ifasina Efunyemi, truly a one-of-a-kind individual. As long as I have known her, my friend, even when it was unpopular to do, she has been defying the odds and continuing to dance to her own tune, becoming the best version of herself. Even her staunchest critics cannot deny her success all these years. And I can tell you that she is certainly a trailblazer. not only in the society and country, but in the world by extension. Ifasina, please go ahead and make your presentation.
Benafe, and thank you so much, Percy, for inviting me to be on your show and to share my story. I always embrace this opportunity. No one can tell our stories like us. We are the ones that know our stories. People can tell us versions. They can tell us their perspectives. They can say their opinion, what they think based on what they see, but not what they know, because even what they think they know is simply based on their personal experience or perception. It is not necessarily what is true. So I embrace any opportunity to share about myself. I am Ifasina Efunyemi. This name is a Yoruba name. It means Ifa opens the way. That's Ifasina. Efunyemi means Efun befits me. It's a Yoruba name that I embraced when in my late teens, early 20s, I came to know of Ifa, of the Yoruba tradition of Ifa, that involves spiritual consultation and honoring of Orisha and ancestors. And I gravitated toward this. I was at the time attending St. John's College, Junior College, and there was a business that I used to have to pass on the boulevard, on Central American Boulevard. I lived just past Faber's Road and had to walk all the way across the city to St. John's College, Junior College. Then there were times I was able to catch the city bus, but in the evenings I would walk home, and in walking home, I passed this business. I used to smell the incense burning and hear the music playing, and I decided to walk into the place. It was called House of Africa. And in there, I saw African attire. It was the first time I saw images of Africa that were very positive, beautiful, attractive, colorful. I got exposure to the different peoples of Africa, cultures of Africa, languages of Africa. And in there, there was even a library that was so informative. There were so many books that I had never been exposed to, that I probably would have never come in contact with, that gave me a more Afrocentric perspective of life. Growing up and going through this colonial system in Catholic schools, from primary school to high school to junior college, my perspective was influenced by what the church taught me. But my spirit was always resistant, per se. I did not accept all that was being told to me. And I could not answer the question, why? Why did I not accept? I just knew within me that something here does not add up.
Yes.
And so I have been a person that has consciously sought knowledge for myself. And when I walked into House of Africa, it was an opportunity for me to find out for myself about Africa.
Yes.
What I saw on the television screen growing up in the 80s in Belize City was not appealing. It was nothing to be proud of, because what you saw of Africa, people that looked like me and you, were people starving with flies in their eyes.
Yes.
And there was always some white person appealing for donations. That those were the images that I saw of Africa growing up.
Yes.
And so when I walked into that business in the late 90s and saw something very different, it made a mark. It had an impact on me personally.
Yes.
And one of the owner, she was a Yoruba priestess. She was an initiate of Ifa. And I learned about the tradition from her. But as I was studying it, there were so many things that were familiar, because as a Garifuna person, honoring of ancestors is integral to Garifuna Dwell. And I grew up with that.
Yeah.
Despite not growing up in a Garifuna community, I grew up in Belize City, behind Civic at 38 City Street, in a yard that I shared with other families that were not Garifuna. Fortunately, my grandmother and her family lived on the very next side of the fence. So I had the privilege of growing up hearing both my mother and grandmother speak about living in Barranco. And I developed an affection for Barranco. Barranco is my maternal homeland, right? My mother's family is from Barranco. Her lineage, my maternal lineage is from Barranco. So when in 1988, my mom used to attend the NGC conventions. And she took me to the NGC convention in 1988 to Barranco. That was my first visit to Barranco. And then I went again for the summer of 1990. And then my visits to Barranco became more frequent. But I fell in love with Barranco, and I had already fallen in love with Barranco just from hearing her stories and my grandmother's stories about Barranco. Growing up on a farm in Barranco, my great-grandparents, Benita Nunes Ariola and Catarino Ariola, being farmers, and my great-grandfather was also a carpenter, you know, and thus I knew my story. I knew that side of my story. I would learn my father's side of the story later on as I grew up, because like I said before, I embrace knowledge and have always sought it out for myself. So growing up in Belize City, even though I was not in a Garifuna community and was not surrounded by Garifuna people, my mother raised me in a Garifuna home. So Garifuna people visited my home. My siblings had Garifuna friends like yourself. That's so when Percy says he knows me from a long time, that's he knew me from childhood. Because there was this group called Igemeri. And I was exposed to that. My mom took me to things that were Garifuna. There were many Garifuna activities that happened in Belize City, and I got to be a part of those activities. I got to see older Garifuna women as well as young women dressed in Garifuna attire, singing and dancing. I saw drumming, even in the yard at 38 City Street. We had a band one time come and perform there. So those are things that are highlights of my childhood that make me feel very proud to be Garifuna. Growing up as a Garifuna in Belize City, one could do one of two things. You either became more proud and embraced your ethnicity, or you rejected it completely and hid it from others to avoid the discrimination that inevitably would come because of what was enforced, what was implemented, what was imposed to divide us as a people by the colonizers, right? So that you know, the discrimination, the prejudice, those comments that try to insult us, I grew up through that. But it only strengthened me being Garifuna because of how my mother raised me, empowered me to be more of myself. My mom baked bread and Johnny cake on a fire heart right there in the yard at 38 City Street. And people from the neighborhood lined up for my mother's baking. So in spite of what they were told, they also appreciated who we were and what we stood for, because we were unapologetic. Now, I can't say the same for my siblings. I grew up in a household. There were 9 of us. My mom had 10 children. One died as a baby. And but growing up at 38 City Street, there were eventually 9 of us.
Yeah.
And my mom was a single mother. She worked very hard. She did domestic work. She sold cosmetics as well. And she was an entrepreneur. Like I said, she would bake Johnny cakes, powder buns, and bread right there in the yard. And people came to buy, flocked for what sister made in the yard. That's what people called her. And it's interesting because in Garifuna tradition, you call your elder sibling Nibugaya, right?
Yes.
And so interestingly, the whole neighborhood, because my mom was the eldest for my grandmother, she was called sister by everybody. So she was not only my aunts and uncles' sister, but she was the sister of the neighborhood. And that's how everybody referred to her, as sister. My mom is Jacinta Palacio. And my father is Luke Mariano. Now, he is from Dangriga. And when I decided to move here in 99, he made it his business to come and take me around this town so that everybody would know that I was his daughter. And I have so many family members. So my paternal lineage is from Dangriga. My maternal lineage is from Barranco. And I embrace both spaces. Now, in Belize City, as I've mentioned, it wasn't easy growing up as a Garifuna young person, but my mom raised me as Garifuna, and I nourished that. I embraced that fully, and I carried that with me through my entire education. I went to preschool at Pine Street Preschool. I went to St. Joseph Primary School. I went to St. Catherine Academy, and then St. John's College, Junior College. And through all of it, anyone that interacted with me from then knew me as who they are seeing now. A very proud, strong, vocal, brave, and bold Garifuna woman, right? My teachers, seeing me over the years, they were not surprised of the career that I chose, getting into media advocacy and education, because I was always vocal. They used to write on my report cards, because my birth name is Anthea. Anthea is very bright. This is what they would write on my report cards. Anthea is very bright, but she talks a bit too much. Right? She talks a bit too much. What I appreciate about my teachers is that they did not stifle my ability to speak. Instead, they sharpened it. They helped me to be able to speak so that when I opened my mouth, people listened, and whatever I had to say had substance. And I appreciate that of my teachers at St. Joseph, my teachers at St. Catherine, my teachers at St. John's College, Junior College, and throughout my education thereafter, right? I'd always had good relationship with my teachers. They were very helpful to me. They saw my potential and they pushed me. My mother pushed me, my teachers pushed me, and then the friends that I chose also were supportive of me. So my journey is a journey of struggle, but it's also a journey of perseverance. I even ended up writing a poem about that because I'm also a poet per se. I write poetry.
That's my name. That's my name, by the way.
Indeed. So I have learned through my childhood into adulthood that struggle is flavorful. In other words, it makes life interesting. Struggle gives us motivation. You either will allow struggle to break you down or build you up. And for me, I have used it to build me up. So people see me, and I say this to my students a lot. You see me, but you don't know where I've come from. I have a story, and it's quite a rich story. But don't take for granted that I came here and it was all easy, because it was not an easy ride.
Yes.
And that's what makes me appreciate my struggles.
Mhm.
They are because I would have a story to tell that would be powerful, impactful, and meaningful to others.
Yes.
And hopefully that it would inspire others as well to persevere likewise, to not take things for granted, right?
Right.
And to not be knocked down by life's circumstances. Like I said, I grew up in a house with 9 of us. And I, Percy, as an adult, I think about the space. Used to visit 38 City Street.
Yes,
How
yes,
did we
yes.
fit there?
That's
How
true.
did we fit there?
That's true. That's true.
You know,
That's true.
because it was
Yes.
such a small space,
Yes.
but it was
Yes,
home.
yes, yes.
It was home for
Yes.
us. And it was home for many. My mom, like many other Garifuna families, opened the home for other Garinago that came from anywhere. If they came from Danguga, they came from Barranco, they came from Penny, they came from St. Bite Hopkins, wherever.
Yeah.
And they needed a place to stay. She opened her space for them.
Yeah.
This was something I learned that my grandmother, my late my paternal grandmother, Maria Mariano, also opened her space there in Pink Alley or Majestic Alley. And many people, officers, people who work with the police, PDF, in the public service, they also would stay with my grandmother, right? So this was a Garifuna thing. And I grew up seeing that, experiencing that, and being very proud and appreciative of it. Now, I want to say this about people that have impacted my life. Apart from my mother and grandmother, I remember walking to school and seeing this Garifuna woman, upright, walking, very proud, very distinguished, and beautifully attired in her Garifuna outfit. It would turn out that this lady, who wasn't a teacher, her name then was Jeanette Garcia. And I looked at her and I admired her, and I said a prayer as I walked behind her. I asked God, please let her be my teacher. When I got to school, it was the beginning of the school year. And what would happen is that students would line up, and then the teachers would do the roll call. And you would know your teacher when the teacher called your name. This was now, I was in standard 6, right? My final year of primary school. And when she called my name, Percy, I was the most elated of all the students on that school ground. My peers, some of whom are still my friends today, said that I was a teacher's pet. I was her favorite. My relationship with her grew from that time because God had answered my prayer. And she and I remained close even after I graduated from primary school. As a matter of fact, remember when I saw her and admired her, she was wearing Garifuna attire. Now, I did not at that point own a Garifuna outfit per se. I didn't own a Garifuna outfit. My mom, like I said, she had 9 of us, 6 girls and 3 boys. And as a single mom, she couldn't afford to get us Garifuna outfits. 6 girls, you know what it is to get outfits for 6 girls?
I hear you. I hear you.
So I decided to go up for Miss Garifuna. That time now I'm in high school. I'm at St. Catherine Academy. I got a scholarship. I won a scholarship because I got very high on the BNSC. That's what the exam was called, the Belize National Selection Examination, right?
Yes.
So I had gotten 96 or 94, something like that, but in the 90s. And so the late Mr. Justin Nicholas, he was the principal of St. Joseph Primary School. He called me and my mom into a meeting, and he told my mom there's a scholarship that I could get to go to SCA because my mom wasn't sure how I was going to go to high school because she didn't have the resources. She was going to bank on maybe support from my godfather, Sebastian Caetano. He at that time was teaching at the secondary school,
Yes.
Junior Sec 2, right? There was Junior Sec 1, which is now Edward P. Ark, and then there was Junior Sec 2, which is Gwen Liz, now Gwen Liz, right? So she was planning that, yeah, probably I would have ended up going there through connection with him. But Mr. Nicholas, he said, no, you have a scholarship. There's a scholarship. She can go. She did very well on BNSC. She has great potential and she will be supported through high school. All you need to do is make sure that she shows up. And that's how I ended up at SCA. And while at SCA, like I said, I was walking on Mahogany Street. I heard drums. When I looked, there was practice for Miss Garifuna. At that time, it was already late, so I could not go into the contest that year. That was 1990. So the next year, I was entering second form, and I went again and checked. That time, the NGC secretariat was at Glessima. Glessima was a business that was owned by Myrtle and Mr. Palacio, Dr. Palacio.
Right.
And so I went there and I told the secretary, I'm here to apply for the Miss Garifuna pageant. That was hilarious to the secretary because who applies for the Miss Garifuna pageant, right? But I was so enthusiastic about being a part of the pageant.
Yes.
And it would allow me to learn Garifuna songs. It would allow me to own Garifuna outfits. That was my primary motivation.
Okay.
I wanted to own Garifuna outfit. I needed a Garifuna outfit. I wanted a Garifuna outfit. And so going up for Miss Garifuna, my same teacher, Miss Jeanette, she was my sponsor for the pageant. Okay. So she had her seamstress. Remember when I prayed about her, I was admiring her in her Garifuna outfit.
Yes.
So her seamstress sewed my outfits for the pageant. And I was happy. I was elated. I won the Belize City pageant. And then I went into the national pageant. Now, I had one bad experience with that because in the end, I was told that they reviewed the score sheet and I shouldn't have won. And so they took away my prizes per se, except for the scholarship. Yes, they took away my prizes and gave it to the person that came in second, who was originally from Hopkins. But they kept the scholarship, and I was already on a scholarship. So I asked for that scholarship to be transferred to the junior college. The International Women's Club of Belize, they were my sponsors through high school, and they continued to sponsor me through junior college. The scholarship that I got through Glessima would have covered my books. In the first semester at JC, I struggled a bit because by that time, my mom had already moved out of the city. You know, you're a young person. If you don't have parental guidance, a lot of people think that once you graduate from high school, now you're in junior college, you're on your own, you're grown.
Yes.
But that's not the time to let go young people. Young people still need guidance. They still need support. They need to be guided, right? They need somebody to give them advice, to support them during any struggle. And at the time, I needed that. I needed that guidance. There wasn't a question about my brilliance, but there was struggle. There was financial struggle. There was emotional struggle. There was psychological struggle, right? And so when I didn't perform as was expected in that first semester, when I spoke with Miss Palacio at the time, she said, well, the business isn't in operation anyway, and you didn't perform very well, so you can't have the scholarship anymore, right? This was the very scholarship that I had won when I won Miss Garifuna in 1991. And this was now 1994. I was at the junior college. And so she said, I can't have the scholarship and the business isn't in operation anymore anyways. So But fortunately, because I had the scholarship from the International Women's Club of Belize, then I was still supported. And they checked with me to ask what was the problem, what was the struggle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when they saw that it was a financial issue, they found me
Yeah.
a weekend job. And so I was able to earn a little extra income so that I could always have lunch money and whatever other things that I needed for myself. You see,
Yeah.
it's one thing to get a scholarship per se to go to school that covers your tuition and covers some of the expenses at the school, but your personal expenses are also important.
Yeah.
You have to be able to eat, you have to be able to survive, you have to be able to take care of yourself. And some
Yeah.
scholarships don't provide those resources, right? And when I tell you my university journey, I'll explain that even further.
Yeah, but we have to speed it up because we get run short of time. Go
Okay.
go ahead.
Yes. So long story short, then I worked. I would sell bottles. I did that at SCA too to get a little extra. And I must say, in terms of my SCA journey, I met friends, Garifuna friends there on campus. We ended up starting an SCA Garifuna Council. We
Yes.
ended up establishing a Garifuna Mass at SCA. And Dr. Petra Arana, she was part of that. Patricia Arana, who is a magistrate.
The judge.
Beatrice Mariano, my younger sister. There were several of us that were a part of the SCA Garifuna Council. But I bring that up because, again, like I was saying, growing up in Belize City, growing up in environments where the Garinago were not dominant, I did
Is
not.
she around your age? The judge, is she around your age?
But yeah, she's now a little older than me, right? Because they were ahead of me. They were ahead of me at SCA, right? But we did that at SCA. We were proud to be Garifuna. When I asked Sister Caritas if I could go to school with my Garifuna attire and my crown, she said yes. And I was happy to walk on campus. My friends, they were non-Garifuna and they were at the pageant per se. They didn't understand anything, but they were there to support me. So those are, like I said, growing up in Belize City, you either embrace who you were or you rejected yourself completely.
Yeah,
and I embraced who I was.
Yeah, you brought up some key discrimination in Belize City, and the P used to frequent your house as well, I think, because we were in the same circle, and you saw what happened, and the P, to my mind, Barranco boy again, but he helped, to dispel prejudice and to raise Garifuna pride, don't you think?
Yes, and that was my uncle. A lot of people don't know that either. Yes, that's my mother's brother. That's my mother's brother. And he used to visit us at 38th City Street. And anytime he brought out a new album, he brought it to us, to my mom. He gifted my mom any of his albums that he wants a new CD or cassette. Well, when it was cassettes, he brought the cassettes to her. And then when it became CDs, he brought the CDs to her. That's my brother. That's my mother's younger brother. Right? So that's my uncle.
Yes, but you okay, but that's on the Palacio side.
Yes. My mom is Jacinta Palacio.
Gotcha.
Their father is my grandpa, Ruben Palacio. That's my, right? So I knew him growing up right there in Belize City. And then, of course, in Barranco, right? And when I got into advocacy, in fact, when I got into media, my advocacy started as a teenager. When I went up for Miss Garifuna, that's when I became active in the National Garifuna Council. And then, because I was visiting Barranco regularly, I was a part of organizing the first Warigon Barango, right? Barranco Homecoming. And Andy and I were a part of organizing that. So we were being interviewed on Love FM in 1997 in the summer in preparation for that homecoming. And that's how I became familiar or known to Chief Rene Villanueva Sr.
Yeah, I know Chief. We know Chief.
For that show, and it was late and they started the interview with me, right?
Yeah.
So, and I
Yeah.
wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid,
I know you're not
Percy. So I
afraid.
was able to
I
speak
I know
about
you. I
the.
know you are never afraid. But UWI, what did you do at UWI? How did that what was that experience?
Well, that stemmed right from the Love FM experience because that year after the interview, and I wasn't working. I used to work every summer, but at the airport actually, I used to work every summer. And then when I wanted to be employed full time, I wasn't hired, so I wasn't working. And then my godfather Sebastian spoke with Chief, and Chief invited me for an interview and hired me in October of 97. He remembered me from the interview in the summer regarding Warigon Barango. And that's what started my career in the media at Love FM. So I was, when I moved to Dangriga in 99, I became a correspondent for Love FM in Dangriga. And UA would come and they were doing recruitment at Ecumenical, and I was covering the story. So I got to meet Mr. Davis, Winston Davis. He was the senior registrar at UA at the time. And I inquired, well, what would it take to go to UA? And so he informed me that I needed to complete my junior college education because I didn't graduate from SJCJC because of calculus and statistics per se. I knew from then that I wanted to be a farmer. So I could not see the merit of going through statistics and calculus.
Yes.
And so,
yes.
So I was a rebel at that point, and I did not complete. So I didn't graduate, right? But to go to university now, I would have to complete my associate degree. And so since I was living in Dangriga, I decided to attend EJC. And here the plan. This is how I executed it as well. By that point, there was already a public speaking competition. And my entire education has been through scholarship per se. So I said, okay, I'll go to EJC. I will enter the competition at EJC. I will win it. I will represent EJC in the national competition, and I will win the national competition so I could win the scholarship so that I could go to university. And that is what I did per se. And that is what I executed to the letter.
Yeah, but you did many things. You're a farmer, you're this, you're that, you're a journalist, but you're a historian. How did you, how that happen?
Because of a love for history, not because I studied history. Although now that I'm at my master's level, I want to do my doctoral degree, and it will be in history. I love history, so I go and I speak to people, I interview people, I get information from them. A lot of what I know is based on interviews that I've done or things that I've read for myself, right? And then when I got into education, I also taught and still teach history, Belizean history, as well as ancient civilizations. And so my passion for history is how come I am a historian, because I really love history. And in my media experience, Love FM used to have and still do this southern tour around November. It gave me the opportunity to visit Garifuna communities and speak with Garifuna elders. So I interviewed many Garifuna elders over the years. And then learning about Garifuna spirituality, I would sit with buyers, some all the major buyers I have spoken with personally, because of my interest in Garifuna spirituality.
Not only so, but then Mariano.
Well, it's in my lineage. It is in my lineage, right? Because Sinabwe ST is Palacio. That's from my maternal lineage, right? And then late Baba Jan, that's from my paternal lineage. So on both sides, it's there. Both sides.
We're getting close to what you spoke so eloquently about ABC. But before you give your report, in terms of the vision, where the country is and where we believe we should go.
You know, it's interesting, this question. I was just going through my journals and writings. And my plan is to compile my writings and publish multiple books. I can tell you that many years ago, as a young person, I used to live in Ladyville with my older sister, Sharon, and I got a ride into the city with now her name is Dr. Anita Barrett. She is back in Belize. She retired from educating in Qatar, and she's now living in Saint Bite. She, in those many years ago, I was a young person, and she said, you should write down what you think about what is happening in our society.
Yes, ma'am.
Because your opinion of what is going on around you as a young person is important. And I did write down things that I observed in my country. And I found, while going through journals recently, something I had written about patriotism. And it was a concern about how genuinely Belizeans, from leadership to the regular citizen, how genuinely do they love this country? Because I thought I spoke about in that writing how our young men are shooting each other on the streets when, if it came to us having to stand at the borders to defend our borders, would they stand and defend Belize? And in my view, there are too many Belizeans that don't have that love for this country. But I am one of those Belizeans that truly loves Belize. I've had the opportunity to be and live elsewhere, and I still choose Belize. And when, as an educator, I am encouraging my students, yes, go out and expand your boundaries, go out and explore the horizons, but always come back home. Bring your experience, your knowledge, your skill, your growth home and contribute to the development of this country. And I exemplify that, Percy.
And your your parting shot together with what you just said.
My parting shot is, if we all come with purpose, know that purpose, find out what that purpose is, and then live it to the best of your ability. That is what you see when you see me. I am a person with purpose. I am blessed to know my purpose, and I live that purpose. I exemplify what I stand for, and you ought to do the same. You will find your life to be much more fulfilling that way.
Oh my gosh. Ifasina, yeah. I remember the answer. I remember answer. But you prefer Ifasina. And you know, I've learned so much about you today, and I appreciate you all the more. It is true. I know Florence and Sharon, we dance, we this, we that, you know, in the Gemini thing, right? And so on. I know mom, yes, I know you, yes. I can't dismiss you. You can't you, you make yourself, you know, relevant. I could never dismiss you. Okay? You stand out, right? And to this day, right, you are making your indelible mark, right, in the world by extension, and certainly in the country of Belize. Thank you so much for this agreeing to come on the show, and we will talk another time.
Yes.
I will prepare this and it will go on the YouTube. Thanks much again. Are you?
What make it? Man, are you?